giving back and I say, no, I want to stop this cycle. Then that cycle is stopped. But it's not that, you know, you harm me, and then in another life, somehow I go and find you so I can harm you back. No, I give it back to somebody else who has the karma to be harmed. But this is a very, very simplistic way of understanding it, by the way. So it's not so simple. Okay? Can I ask a question about specific karmas to my guru? You mean karmas from the past? Did somebody, I don't know who asked that question. When you said, what kind of karma to my guru? If you want to ask what action creates what, of course you can ask a guru. Yeah, like if you ask, how does karma work? Of course you can ask them. If you want your karma, what do you mean? Your future karma? Your past karma? What do you want to ask him? I don't know who asked the question.
No, it was me. I was just saying it was related to something you said. I'm trying to remember, but I'm just writing.
Okay.
I think it was more about the stage where I am right now in my practice. I'm sorry.
You want to predict in your future or something?
No, that's like more around. Maybe I should burn a specific karma or work on purifying something specific, as you can see.
Well,
that.
then we wouldn't call that karma, we call it a practice.
Okay.
He would give you a certain practice. He wouldn't say you have to create specific karma. He gives you a method, he gives you a practice. That, yeah, you can say, what should I practice? But about karma is like, there was one woman also in Kopan many years ago. She has had 2 abortions. So you can imagine when she heard about karma, oh, she felt really guilty and she was totally blocked. So she went to see Lama Zopa Rinpoche because she was really kind of very disturbed. And so Lama Zopa broke out laughing. And he said, whoa, wow, if you would know what you did in past lives, these 2 abortions is nothing. And she relaxed. So if it would have been somebody who just has one abortion after the other without kind of trying to prevent getting pregnant, he would have said something totally different. But he could see that this was blocking her. She couldn't continue with the path, so this is why he gave her that advice. Yeah. Or also, you know, sometimes if somebody has died, they go and ask a lama, and then they say, were they reborn? Usually they don't like to give these kind of answers. Yeah. What they would say is like, take care of your karma now. Like, karma means action. Yeah. Take care of your actions now. See whether they're beneficial or harmful, positive, negative, or however you want to call them. And you have the list of the 10 negative actions. Does karma wants to promote liberation? Karma is not a thing out there that kind of tells you what to do. Karma is an action. Does it promote liberation? No, I mean, if you're liberated, you get free from karma and negative emotions. Why would I be reborn as a dog? Why would I be reborn as a dog? Well, because you have the karma to be reborn as a dog. It comes from a negative action, having an animal body. You don't decide it, you know, you don't decide. Actually, you can, somehow also, the lamas also with karma, yeah, the Tibetans sometimes they say, you know, like ordinary monks, they come to me and say, you know what? Do you know that there's Westerners who want to be reborn as a cat? Or as a dolphin? Or as an eagle? They can't understand that we could have such wishes to be reborn as a cat or a dog or as a dolphin, because how can you practice Dharma as a cat, as a dog, or as an eagle? Yeah? They don't understand that we have these kind of wishes. For them it's a lower rebirth, you can't practice. So then at one point we asked the Lama, why are you reborn as a cat? So he says, well, of course kind of negative imprints, but also when you come home tired from work, right, an admiration for a cat existence. Like when you come home from work and you're tired and you're frustrated, and you come home and you have a cat and it's lying on the windowsill. Here maybe in Israel not so much, in the sun, kind of going like, oh, you know, very pleasant to lie on that windowsill. And you have a thought, wouldn't it be nice to be a cat? is so powerful at the time of death because your mind is in the same state, frustrated, tired, confused, kind of wanting to get rid of the whole thing, of your pain and everything, and that thought could throw you into a cat existence. So be careful about your thoughts, what you wish. Yeah. So then, also, you know, but we had somebody on the course who said, oh yeah, of course, I want to be reborn as a cat. And she looked a bit like a cat. She moved like a cat. She must have been a cat in previous life. So anyway, I said, okay, it's your decision, but make sure you really want it. I saw her in Delhi in the train station, like a few months later, getting a ticket, because I said to her, okay, stay with that wish, but try to start to observe cats. See how much freedom they have, see how they, you know. And so I said, do you still want to be reborn as a cat? She said, no. You see, when we think cat, we think a loving owner who feeds me and who cuddles me if I want to be cuddled and who leaves me alone when I scratch them and say I don't want to be cuddled and all this. But look at the street cats. Would you like to be a street cat? Having to fight, you know? Or in Bulgaria, the dogs, they get pregnant every time they're in heat. They're as thin as, you know, it's just skin and bone. Yet they have to feed their puppies. And they themselves are already half starving. Not sure if animal existence. You know, what gives you the guarantee that you're going to be the dog of the Dalai Lama? You might be a street dog in Bulgaria. So if you have these kind of thoughts, examine whether you really want them. You spoke about hope and fear as ideas we want to let go of. How does that work with hoping for enlightenment? Well, hoping for enlightenment is not bringing you enlightenment. Hoping is a mind that thinks that at one point it will fall on me. An aspiration for enlightenment, yes, that understands. If I want enlightenment, I need to work for it. So you can let go of hope. Hope just is, very often is very unrealistic. Like hoping to pass the exams without studying. Yeah? Recognition and delusion are only with destructive karma, yeah? If it's a delusion, yeah. It is very known that plants wish to keep existing. Is it very known? And growing. In Tibetan Buddhism, one would say plants don't have consciousness. It's debatable. Growing. Putting them in my tea for good taste isn't adding for the world's suffering. Bit extreme, that one. But yeah, if you think so. You see, again, it is your mind that is creating the karma. So if you're convinced that now this plant is suffering because I put it in my tea, you should not put it in your tea. Because then your mind creates a negative imprint. Okay? All right? But one would say, like, plants don't have consciousness. But it doesn't mean we can do with them whatever we want, because they're very useful for human beings, with oxygen. And sometimes beings live in them also, so we destroy their habitat. That's why we shouldn't just go mindlessly around kind of cutting trees and plants and stuff. Is environmental and collective karma the same? Okay. Environmental is a result. Karma is an action. They cannot exist both at the same time. You cannot have the cause and the result at the same time. So I don't quite understand where the question is coming from.
Yes, because you mentioned collective karma and environmental karma are
No,
different.
result. I said environmental result.
Oh, because it's written also. Because it's written in the booklet as a result, not as karma.
Yeah.
Okay, so
It's the karma is an action. So collective karma means we have all created the karma to have a human body,
result.
which is a positive action. So we experience it collectively now. The result of it is that the environmental karma, even though we have the same action of being human, but then the completing karma is my environmental karma is that I have a red passport with a white cross on it, which is a peaceful country.
As European perspective.
Huh?
As a European perspective.
Okay. Yeah, so you have possibility also to go there, which not everybody has, for example.
Don't want to.
I don't want to go there, so that's fine. So this is, the environmental karma, the result of
Yeah, I
that
understand
is
that.
like, so it's completing karma. Then, can the different realms of samsara manifest in a human form, for example? Can a drug addict be a hell-being? Yes and no. Okay, sorry. Can the different realms of samsara, like hell beings, hungry ghosts, animals, humans, demigods and gods, manifest in a human form? For example, can a drug addict be a hell being? Yes and no. So, you see, a drug addict can stop being a drug addict while he is still alive, because he has a human body.
So what kind of body hell beings or
They have to die.
deities have, like?
They'd have to die so that existence is finished.
So their realm is determined after they are dead? I mean, if somebody is born as a hell being,
Yeah.
what body would he have, or
You
how
can
would
see
it
pictures
manifest?
on the Wheel of Life, how they look.
Okay.
Very sensitive bodies who are like flames coming out of them and all this, these kind of bodies.
But can it be a human body?
No, because a hell being is the throwing karma, the ripening result of a negative action. A human body is the result of a
Yeah.
positive action. And also, as I'm saying, it can look like this. You can say it's like living in a hell, being a drug addict, or being in Syria at the moment, for example. Nobody trusts, and it's a lot of distrust, a lot of aggression, a lot of anger, everybody against everybody. You don't know who is kind of friend and who is not. So that is a hell state, where there's no safety anywhere.
Because it's two different beings, two different states, so
Yeah.
they cannot manifest
No.
simultaneously.
Although it looks sometimes as if, it looks sometimes as if, as a human being, you can manifest all these different characteristics of these 6 realms, but that's not what they're saying. They really say it's a different dimension. If that kind of teaching prevails, I'm not sure. Because that was very much part of the Hindu view also, these different realms. But it's interesting that all the religions talk about hell states. All of them.
But we can only see the animal and the human.
We can see the animal and the human. Some people can perceive spirits. But again, there's books. But then the book, do you believe it, do you not believe it? It's called Delog. So Delogs are beings who are able to travel to the hells. Humans who are able to travel to the hells and then come back with kind of reports.
Humans,
Yeah.
not spirits.
Humans. Humans can kind of mentally go to the hells,
Mm-hmm.
and then they come back and describe how it is. And at one point, what may be more, because I also had this view, I can see everything here, I don't need to believe in hells and all this. See, it sounded a bit like middle age. So I said it to Geshe Dawa, and he said, okay, you can think like this, but how did he say that? The worst suffering as a human is nothing compared to the least suffering in the hells. And the way he said it, I was so impressed, I thought, he knows. And then why not? It's like I can't see hell beings, but does that mean it really doesn't exist? But it is, you see, sometimes people ask me, do you think that the hells are real? Then I say no. I say it in a provocative way. Yeah? And then people go like, okay, she doesn't believe it also. But also the human realm is not real. That's it. This is what we have to understand. The hells are not a kind of a place where then nobody has the karma to be reborn there, then it's empty. Every state is created by the mind. So you can have a human who is paranoid and thinks everybody is kind of trying to poison him, but nobody wants to poison him. Yeah? But still, he is in that hellish state. Yeah? So if you die with such a mind, like a lot of anger or a lot of aggression, that's where you're going to be reborn. That's the kind of body you will be taking on. This is why it's so important that dying people should be kept peaceful.
Can I ask another question about karma? You mentioned that out of the sexual misconduct, you said that adultery is worse than rape.
I didn't say that. If
You said it's the worst, even worse than like forcing.
You did that?
No.
Yeah.
I didn't
Yeah,
hear
no.
you.
Well, anyways, you said
No,
that.
also, if I said it, I
No.
definitely didn't mean it.
Okay, I'm just asking because you said like you mentioned as the first example that forcing someone into
Mhm.
a sexual relationship or
Yeah.
whatever, and then you went like to adultery and you said yeah it's the worst.
No, I said what one does sometimes with adultery is that one tries out a new relationship without being clear with your old partner what's going on. In case that doesn't work out, then you go back. And I said, that's really rotten. This is what I said. That's
Okay.
really not nice to do that. So I said, if you are in a relationship, it doesn't mean, the religious thing, you have to stay there for the rest of your life, for better or for worse, as you kind of promised at the wedding, You'll stick together for better or for worse. No. But before you start another sexual relationship, you finish that one
Yeah,
first.
that I understand. I only
Yeah.
want to know what.
And so why I started with rape, because that is the worst.
It's also listed the first.
Huh?
It's also listed the first out of the three.
Well, there's more, but I didn't go into
Well,
those.
but from those who.
They're kind of religious kind of thing. So, but but also adultery, there's so much suffering in the world because of that. And the result of having been committed like sexual misconduct, the result of what you experience is like having a lot of depression. That's the result of it. When like the result of the experience, because if your partner will be depressed. And an environmental result is that you have a lot of bed bugs in your bed. Yeah. So I purified a lot of sexual misconduct in India, I tell you. I had a lot of bed bugs in my bed. And I did commit adultery. I did sleep with married men, 2 or 3, I think, before I became a nun, okay? So I don't need to be surprised about the bed bugs. Bed bugs, it's like these little things that sting you really viciously. Where then you have like big things that... Huh? Fish. Okay, fish. If during a long fast, a vow or a tapas, or a purification, the gross mind is thinking harmful thoughts, angry thoughts, impatient thoughts, he creates or he burns karma. Whoever asked these questions, what do you think? Again, you have to list. What does make an action complete? The intention with a recognition, a motive, and then a delusion. Then you need an object. Then you need to do the action, and then the completion of the action. So what do you think? Does it create negative karma? No. It leaves residues on the mind, but they're not very big, especially if you see them and if you recognize them. And then you can use them, Then burning negative karma would be, wow, I can see how difficult it is to be in a good mood when my basic needs are not fulfilled. I see I have no control to make this mind a happier mind. You have no control. You can't tell the mind, come on, stop it. You can't, you can tell it, but it won't stop being grumpy and in a bad mood. And then you start to understand angry people, that they also don't have control over their mind and over their anger. Yeah? So like this. Now, how much they burn negative karma and how much they create, I have no clue. It's, again, I don't know. But no, it's not a complete action. Unless, you are like me, I told it at dinner time when I took precepts in France, or Shokini, they have very good food. And so I took precepts, I didn't have to, but I took. And I came into the dining room and there was quiche, and I love quiche. So I saw the quiche, I went, shit, why did I take the pizza? That's not a very good thought, but I saw the thought. Then I tried to rejoice with the people who could eat my piece of quiche. I tried. And I started laughing again. I thought, are you so stupid? About how many pieces of quiche have you already eaten? It doesn't make you a better person. It doesn't create a good rebirth. So let that quiche be quiche. Still, ooh. Why can't we create neutral karma? Okay, I already answered it to Yora. There's different views about neutral karma. Because I had to look it up. So in Tenzin Zopa's 12 Links, he says, we can't create neutral karma. It's an action that you do without a conscious positive or negative thought. Like a positive thought, I will not kill, I will not steal. That would be virtuous karma. Any action that we do without very clearly, no, I will not steal, I will not kill. This would be a neutral action. No, absolutely no intention, but also it doesn't bring result. Then in Geshe Sonam Rinpoche's 12 Links, which is the same kind of teaching, he says neutral karma, unfluctuating karma sometimes is called. This is what you create when you have shamatha, calm abiding, and that makes you be reborn in the Gaudiya. So these are the two explanations. But the question is, do we really do actions where there's absolutely no self-interest present? That's the big question. I doubt. Does karma affect also in this life or only from previous lives? Very good question, because I've got to say tell you about this. Actually, no, I did say something. Usually it's what ripens now is not karma from this life. They say only very, very strong karma ripens in the same life. Like, for example, doing big positive actions, like saving lives or actually developing shamatha, also they say. And, like also crimes like negative actions like killing very important people, very heavy people, like not heavy like this, but important objects, your parents, because you owe them your life, and then killing them, they have a lot of concern for you and give up a lot for you. So willingly killing one of your parents or both is very heavy negative karma. Everything you do with your parents, be it positive or negative, is heavy. Because why? Because they gave you that thing that you cherish most, which is your life. And with this life you can attain enlightenment. So it's a very heavy field. Your spiritual teacher is a very heavy object. And then the poor and the sick and the poor are very heavy objects. So if you want to practice generosity and you go around and around and around, when are you giving presents here? In Europe it's Christmas. Here is what? Hanukkah. Hanukkah, Pesach, I think also, no? Hanukkah. So, sometimes we have friends who already have everything. Okay, we have friends who already have everything. Then we spend hours and hours and hours in these shops trying to find something that would make them a little bit happier than they are. It's difficult to find something for your friends. Or you find it easy to find presents for your friends? Very difficult. I always bring Swiss chocolate. So, for the people, you get yours. For the people who organize the courses. So if you like Swiss chocolate, you have to volunteer as a manager of the course. You get one. And
control their condition.
Huh?
And control their condition.
I control the air conditioning also, exactly. So, so like very big, heavy action or very big kind of that. So it's your spiritual teacher, your parents, and the poor and the sick. So if you spend a lot of money, feeling very generous to your friend who already has everything, your mind knows that. This is the thing. If you steal money from a beggar because he fell asleep and his cup is there, not so. It's kind of also heavy. Yeah. Okay?
So you experience the result in this life. So you experience the result.
No, that's not big enough. stealing the cup of money from a beggar. Yeah. But it's a heavy object. When we talk about objects, what kind of determines the heaviness of or the bigness of the result, then that would be also, it's the subject, somebody who's holding vows or not holding vows. If I kill, it's much heavier than if somebody kills who doesn't have vows. Again, why? Because the Buddha sees it and says, wow, look at this nun of mine. She took vows and now she's killing. Because of that? No, because the same thing. You make a promise to somebody. You break the promise. Do you feel worse than when you just do something negative or saying? Huh? Worse. So again, it's your own mind creating these imprints, not somebody outside. What has a greater effect, the result or the intention? Well, the result is the effect. For example, I gave a bad advice with good intention, and it I caused someone to do bad action. Will it affect my karma in a negative way? Well, again, you talk about karma, my karma is somewhere out there. I mean, again, it's like, what did you say, what happened, all this, what state, what was your mind state, what, again, the result of your action does not influence your imprint. For example, if I steal something from you, and then she thinks, oh, great, I steal your bicycle, and it's insured, but it's an old one. So I steal it, and then you think, great, now I can go to the insurance, I get a new bike. So people are like this. I had mine stolen, and I was very happy as a kid, also like teenager, and I was very happy because they found it 2 days before the thing kind of, the police, because you have to wait a certain time, and then when they don't find it in 2 months or something, so 2 days before it was finished, they found it. So whether she's happy about that or not, that doesn't influence my karma, my karmic imprint of stealing. Yeah? So if your intention was good and the result not good, it doesn't affect your karma. It doesn't affect the quality of the imprint of the seed. Maybe we should say like this, because you have the karma is the action, which creates a karmic seed or a karmic potential, which then kind of ripens as a karmic result. So you see, when you say we have a headache, you say it's my karma. No, it's not your karma. It's a result of a negative action. Okay?
Can I ask something about that?
Maybe I finish with the question here, and then we go. Cause someone will it affect my karma? Okay, so now the question is finished. So I don't know who asked that question, but do you think it's answered?
Yes.
It's okay? The thing that affects my rebirth is all of the complete action in this life, or specific actions from this life, or actions from this and previous life. So, the rebirth now, you cannot create it when you're already reborn. The cause.
Next one.
The cause. So an action from now can influence your next rebirth, of course. But it can also influence your rebirth 100 rebirths from now, if the karmic seed is still there. So, for example, if somebody does a lot of negative actions, and at the time of death he has genuine regret and feels really, really compassion for all his victims, a positive seed will ripen, he will have a good rebirth. But that karmic consciousness takes all the negative imprints from that life with him, and it will ripen at one point. This is why one usually says, we don't need to be so worried about our enemies being punished, okay? If there is a God, he will take care of them. If there's karma, that will take care of them. No need to worry. And if they are able to purify the negative karma so that they don't have to undergo suffering, instead of thinking, that's not fair, we should be very happy, because when suffering doesn't know what to do with itself, it turns into aggression. You see, if suffering would make